Okay, I want to have a quick example here to show you a uh, a pop-up that's fake, and it's fooled a lot of people. I sort of wish I didn't tell you that it was a fake pop-up, so you could find out what you would do. But imagine that you're busy working in your computer here, you're editing your document, maybe you're working on web pages or reading up different things. I've got a little program running over here, whatever. But in the middle of all of this, all of a sudden, you get a pop-up. And this is a real one. People have actually had this show up on their screen within the last month, and they've called me after the fact. Unfortunately, they've already seen this. They haven't been customers of mine, and they've run into um, deep doo-doo because they've clicked on here and they've clicked the wrong thing, and they should have never clicked on it in the first place. Um, the really unfortunate thing is that the people who design this picture here have done an amazingly good job. It really is very convincing. I've sent this picture to a number of people and asked them to look at my writing along with the picture that's included with the writing, and a couple of them actually have written back and said that when they scrolled down and flipped to the next page, then when they saw this suddenly appear in the middle of their screen on a white page, that it looked like a real pop-up window, and they actually clicked. Some of them were trying to click on no thanks, and some of them were trying to click on update now, and some of them were trying to close it out with this red X, or with this X. Of course, that was actually all definitely a picture and nothing else, so they were safe. But it does go to the point of saying that there are many people that, especially if you're working fast and furious, or you think you're smart and this looks very convincing to you, I wouldn't say that you've gone too far off from saying this at first blush looks like an official type of a pop-up message. You've probably examined this while I'm talking and seen that there are some issues with it. But what you probably don't know is there's even more behind this that's evil than you ever imagined. Okay, the, I'll get to the evil part right this moment. It does not matter where you click on this right now. It's all going to do the same thing. If I click here on no thanks, or I click on update now, or I click on the X, I can click on the F, I can click anywhere in the gray space, you got it. Anywhere I click within this is basically hooked up as a giant single button. And when it's clicked, that click tells Windows that it's okay, I've given permission, and I want whatever's behind the thing that's waiting for the click to do whatever it wants to do. And in this case, some of the things that are happening out there are the ransomware installing, and suddenly, within a minute or two, all of my data files will become locked up, and I'll be held ransom to be able to ever get them back. And the odds are I never will, unless I've prepared for it in advance. But that's a whole different video. So what's one to do when you get something like this? Well, I used to tell people, if you were on our plan, we update your software automatically for you. And that's still true. I still tell people that's the case. And in this case, you should probably never get a pop-up. And if you do, then you give me a call and we find out what the deal is, because either I need to make sure I've got the latest version and update everyone's machine, which I'm usually on top of, or I'm going to verify that this is actually a scam, or worse, it's malware. And in this case, I would use some tools and find out that this has nothing to do with Adobe. I'd look underneath the hood here and find out that it's being called either from a web page or some sort of software that shouldn't be in your system. I mean, there's so many different possibilities. Uh, the other thing that's really become very difficult is for some of these things, even if this was legitimate, we could probably say, just click no thanks and ignore it. You can't on these, even if this wasn't all one giant button, but there were two real buttons. I mean, we're talking about good hackers here. ethical hackers, which I'm not sure that you can really put those two words together. But there have been some, and they're still evil. But you know, you're just not going to want to click anywhere on here, is my advice. So when someone emails me or calls me and says, hey, I've got this thing, it's on my screen, and it's asking if I should update or not, what should I do? I cannot just tell you over the phone or through email without further investigation. It would put your computer at great risk, my name at great risk, and it could put your livelihood or your job at great risk. I mean it when I say job, because there are some people who, upon one click on the ransomware these days, will not only have permanently destroyed all the data on their computer because they don't have any way to get it back or haven't prepared for it, but it'll also find all the files that are on the network that they're hooked up to and encrypt all of them, and they are gone forever. So there are people literally quaking in their boots as a result of this stuff. What will I do? I'll use tools that get behind the scenes and will kill this without having to click on it. They're not the average tools that everyone would just have to be able to say, oh, I can do that. Good antivirus and malware protection, it would probably find this and stop it from happening in the first place, and you'd probably get a notice about it. But if your software is not up to date, then the odds are, even when you're browsing on a legitimate website, if it's got advertising or anything like that, it could end up in the hands of some malware writer who has that little advertising space, and they're trying to probe your system to look for a defect in your software because it hasn't been updated, so they can pop up this message. And so you might be doing something innocently enough, reading the newspaper on the web page, or you've clicked on something in the email, and this looks legitimate. It's just bad news. I don't know what to say except that you should probably have someone that you know and trust that is your support person, your guru, someone that you can call and hire to ask if this is okay or not, or be part of a plan where you're given a lot of freedom to be able to call and ask those questions. Well, that's it for today. There's probably a few other things I've got to think about on this, but that's all I can for the moment, so we'll end it here.